we have this like genius level at everything, intelligence, sitting there like waiting to unravel the mysteries of humanity. And I'm like, why does my kid stop dropping his pizza on the floor and laughing? Like,
Yeah.
You know?
They're calling it the biggest guest Fallon has ever booked. Sam Altman on The Tonight Show. I'm Madeline Rindbarger here with Eric Newcomer and Tom Dotan for the Newcomer Podcast. And we're talking late night TV. It's just always more interesting when you get an AI CEO transforming humanity to come banter with Jimmy Fallon.
Silicon Valley is always so excited. It's like, oh, one of us is on TV. It's, always a surprise.
I liked when Jimmy Fallon had the Costco guys on. I liked when he interviewed the Rizzler. That was my favorite episode of The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Yeah.
Tom, too good for Jimmy Fallon. You look down.
Is Sam Altman the Rizzler of AI CEOs?
I mean, the Rizzler is obviously like America's favorite chubby boy. Sam is a very, smallish, twinkish, prince, ascendant dark prince of AI. So it's hard to get too excited about the comp there. But man, that guy can't really bring it in an interview, can he?
Very awkward. Very awkward. Yeah. And if you're like media strategy for Sam Altman, I see why you're like Jimmy Fallon. He's the friendliest guy on late night. Like interview. Who wouldn't want it? Like everybody wins. You can't go wrong going on Jimmy Fallon. And like that was true. It's not like Fallon was like rooting against Sam, but in some ways how softball it was and that it still felt awkward and uncomfortable highlighted, I think, some of the problems with Sam Altman as on this sort of everyman show, where I think if it, had been a Conan podcast or something with a little bit more of like actual like jokes and repartee, it might have felt more comfortable, but I don't know. It was a very uneasy conversation.
Totally. Well, Jimmy Fallon was doing his usual Fallon thing where he just like, laughs and asks a question, waits for you to say something interesting. Yeah. But there weren't jokes. So he just was laughing at Sam working his way through talking about why AI is so great. And it was like, come on, give me a question, man. Give me
the core problem with the interview is Sam has a terrible answer for why people should use AI. Like, I feel like I get that it's not Uber where it's like you can get a car on your phone from the airport right away. Like it's hard to sum it up because it's like you could do anything with it. I don't know. It's unique to you. And in some ways the problem with AI is like it's not always like the best answer for anything. It's like, oh, you want tutoring? Well, you could get a great human tutor, but if you can't afford that, we have pretty good human tutoring that you could get from AI. And Sam came up with health, like it can be your doctor, which I do find it helpful for health, but comes off as a little dystopian to me. I don't know. What did you think about his ability to answer the "what is your product for" question?
A disaster. It is 3 years into this fucking thing. And by the way, it has caught on with people. There are, as the information recently reported, nearly 900 million people using this product. As if you just came to OpenAI or, ChatGPT based on this interview, you would have no idea why 900 million people are using this thing.
Right.
And I don't want to say this is going to be a problem for them going forward because they have 900 million users. But I think this is going to be a problem for them going forward. Like they have got to find a way to get the normies excited about this. Like you will reach saturation of people that are kind of sampling this product, and either they organically find it themselves, maybe because their kids use it, and at generations younger than us, it's a huge deal. But like you've got to be able to sell this thing, and like everyone lives in the shadow of Steve Jobs in the tech industry, who really was the greatest pitchman of maybe the modern era generally, but like certainly within tech. And, I know you acquired Johnny Ive, Sam, but like you are no Steve Jobs.
Well, I was going to say just, even his closing pitch about like, what is the future of AI going to bring? And like, where will this take us? And I get that he's trying to not be selling something dystopian, like no one has any jobs or, everything gets automated. So he landed on, AI for drug discovery. And then in 5 years, we'll have AI created medical treatments as sort of like his pitch of the future, which again, is a good use case, but that's not what the 900 million, to your point, Tom, users are going to be using ChatGPT for. So you're not really selling it for the average consumer. And you're also kind of aiming low for why this thing is so great, honestly.
Well, it's also like, if you can't even explain what it does, how believable is it going to sound to the general audience that like this thing that you don't really understand, it's about to cure diseases?
We struggle with this too. You know, faced with fucking Edzitron, like it is not that we couldn't come up with what we use it for, but you just sound silly. It's hard. It's like when I just say it copy edits our stories, like that's important to me, but it's like, okay, that's a bazillion-dollar company. You know, it's like every one of them feels sort of random. Like it's not like Airbnb where it's like, you know, book a home in somebody else's city. It is a hard product. There isn't like one thing. It's like fine. I think they need to emphasize find like the intelligence you need, or it's like custom thought, or you know,
the pitch should be that it's the best personal assistant you can get online for any task you would need, like a general purpose personal assistant, which is not maybe find a sexier way to say that, but that's what it kind of boils down to.
I wonder if he tries to turn it back. It's like, what do you need to do? Like what's the challenge you face today? And like I sort of Socratically show you how you could put AI to the test. Like being asked to sort of draw at random. It's like when you're like, sell me this pen, the classic advice is like, oh, solicit what they need a pen for. You know, you can't just like arbitrarily just like sell something. You have to assess like a customer need.
Right, exactly. Engage with the person that you're talking to. And, you know, Jimmy Fallon, I don't even know what to say about the guy and what he would use it for. Sam obviously went the personal route.
He could have gone negative. He should have been like, you could have punched this show up a little bit if you talked. It's like, this is not going, this isn't very funny. Like, did you run this through? Did you ask OpenAI maybe to punch up some of the jokes a little bit? Like,
and sympathy for Jimmy Fallon. I think he saw Sam coming off incredibly robotic and alien at the beginning. And he's like, let me turn this personal. You just had a kid recently, right? How's that going?
Yeah.
And then Jimmy said, I think something like, do you love him?
Are you loving him? So much.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
Which is just, you know, Jimmy Fallon's interviewing skills are what they are. Good segue into talking about your child. So do you love him?
The problem, you know, it's like, it's just it shouldn't be a question.
Right.
But it was like,
so once we got over that hurdle,
attempt to humanize him.
Or maybe it's a general question to Sam. It's like, I don't really get you, dude. Like, do you love this child? Like, it's hard to see you making emotional connections to other human beings. So tell me about this one that you and your husband are raising. So then he asks him that. And then Sam is just like, yeah. And I couldn't imagine how anyone raised a child before ChatGPT.
I cannot imagine having gone through that, like figuring out how to raise a newborn without ChatGPT.
Which is absurd.
Realizing that's an insane sounding thing to say, he backs off for a second. He's like, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but like, here's sort of like how I use it. You know, it's like I tell my kid who's like 6 months old, like, why don't you keep dropping your pizza on the floor? Which is what Sam said.
Why does my kid stop dropping his pizza on the floor?
He doesn't get it right. It's weirdly phrased.
And also, he later in that interview says that his kid is not yet crawling at 6 months, which is very normal, Sam. Don't worry about that. And I'm glad you feel better about that. But like, I don't think your kid's dropping pizza on the floor at 6 months. He was not prepped at all for how to discuss his personal usage of this thing.
You think he made up the anecdote about his kid too? Like you
Oh, the thing about crawling? No, that sounds very real.
Thing. You think he
bullshitted? I think he tried to improv something.
Because that sort of thing is deranged to me. That is always a deeply trouble. Like, I don't just lie about random shit. Like, you think the kid, that to me is the biggest problem with the whole interview. If you just bullshit, you think the pizza thing, it's 6 months.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd love to, we should report that one out.
6 months. Yeah.
I'd like to report that one out, but you're not given a 6 months old pizza.
Right. This is the new Pizza Gate, you know?
Well, that's too real.
Pizzagate too.
That's too real. Look, I mean, let me ask you, Eric, since you, according to the Zitron verse, are obsessed with ChatGPT and use it for everything. Like, how much are you using it for your early month, raising your child in the early months?
Well, I use it for Esther all the time. What Sam is saying, honestly, it is great at reassurance. It is this thing that's happening to me normal? And it's like, oh, the sleep window is 2 hours instead of 90 minutes. And it's like, well, how much is she sleeping? So I think it's a good source of reassurance with some education built in terms of what normal milestones are. I'm often like, what are oh, she could start grasping at things soon. Maybe I should try to teach her how to hold on to something. I think it is useful as sort of like a coach on what milestones you expect. And as a parent, you're always sort of just trying to know, like, how long should my kids stay awake? Is it normal if XYZ happens? So I think he was telling the truth, that it's helpful as a sort of sounding board for what's normal for children. You've never had a child before. That's what's insane about it.
For your first child.
The first child, you just don't know. And so you just want somebody to be like, is this normal? And like doctors are usually getting flooded with like, is this normal? And it's, yes. So I think ChatGPT is good for that. It'll be tragic, someday when it says something's normal when it's wrong. But yeah, so I talk to it all the time about Esther. I've said on this podcast that it was sounding board for the name, that kind of sort of thing. Instead of being like an expert, it's like, it's a useful sounding board for a lot of this stuff.
It helps you work through your thought processes and then also either give reassurance or feedback if you have a question, in addition to just giving you an answer, which I think is a useful general purpose tool, which is, again, why Sam Altman could have easily just said it's the universal personal assistant and not, pitched it like
I think
this strange
one thing undermining, I think, OpenAI is that Google has just swallowed Gemini into Google. So you Google and it does the similar thing at the top of Google. And so a lot of people are already Googling. And so when you try and convince them what OpenAI is doing is novel, it is what they are getting when they Google now, even though that isn't what you used to get. And so it's very hard for OpenAI to differentiate relative to Google when Google is offering the same thing when you search. They just sort of stealth swap that in.
Right. And you're basically introducing a problem to something that people don't always think is a problem, because effectively what he's saying is, how you hate having to click on things when you're trying to research stuff online? Well, AI kind of absorbs it all into this one quick, easy answer. And now it's much faster. And you don't really appreciate that until you start doing it. And you may never appreciate it. But that doesn't sound like a revolution to people off the bat.
He should have never said on national TV that you couldn't have it would be hard to raise a kid pre-ChatGPT. What was the line he said?
Yeah, I can't imagine what it was like.
You can't imagine raising a kid without ChatGPT.
That is, I feel like that should be the case study in how Silicon Valley should not communicate with the public. Like, there's nothing more out of touch than saying, like, my product that did not exist 3 years ago is necessary for a fundamental act of humanity that has been happening since the beginning of human existence, right? It is like, you could not be more out of touch. It's just like insisting on something that is clearly not true. It didn't exist. You don't need it to raise a kid. It might make it marginally
especially
easier.
When, I know we're going to keep bagging on this, but right after he says that, he brings up this like bungled anecdote that didn't really make sense.
That seems fake.
Right.
Yeah, that you didn't even need to ask ChatGPT about anyways. Like, why are you talking to Chat about whether your kid shouldn't be dropping pizza on the floor?
Something like, look at the kid,
How
like, get off your phone.
Right.
Why did my kid drop pizza? Because he was holding pizza at 6 months? Why did the baby
He's supposed to be
pizza?
eating avocados. Like, what?
Yeah. And it's like, also, we're already worried enough about alienation and technology making us feel like atomized and unconnected. If we're just like, how do I experience this incredibly human moment by not talking to other people? Oh, I can talk to this genius AI. He also described it as like the greatest genius of all time.
We need Andre Karpathy is doing a better job at this. Or I'm sort of kicking through my head, like, who do we want? If you're rooting for AI, like I am, like, who in AI do you want out there actually like making this case on Fallon? Like, in some ways, I think it would be better if they just were nerdier. It's like, if it was someone who's transparently like a research nerd, they'd have a little bit of defense, where Sam's trying to say, oh, I figured out this affable thing. And that puts him in this uncanny valley of humanity.
It's because Sam is also the great fundraiser. Like, he's really great pitching all of these wealthy people and decision makers and places where you need to get something out of people by like charming them and like giving the spiel of the vision of the future. Like, he's amazing at that, but that skill set doesn't translate to like a mass talk show audience where you're talking to the everyman. Like, you need someone, to your point, even nerdier. Karpathy is great because he talks about the limitations of this tech and is basically like, it's not going to steal your job. It's not there yet. Like, it can't do these certain things, but it's super useful for these other things, and is really good at like laying out specifically where AI works.
No, I agree with you guys. You want, and there was a time like where talk shows would have scientists and other sort of like eccentric figures
Colbert
on.
was good at that. Daily Show, yeah.
Yeah, or even like, take what you will about the guy, but like Neil deGrasse Tyson sort of like has this, academic, I'm a pop scientist who's going to talk to you about the mysteries of the universe. People are very attracted to that. Like that's a compelling.
Where is the AI Carl Sagan? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I know.
we need the AI
that.
Carl Sagan.
I mean, trying to think who's out there, like Dario. I don't think you want that guy going on Fallon and making one of his like absurd predictions that turn out not to be true. Like in the next year, 50% of talk show hosts will be AIs.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not a great answer. I don't know who else is out there. Mira, she's kind of messed
I haven't
things up.
seen her speak publicly that much. Have you?
I mean, there was that one time where she famously kind of flubbed it. So
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. She was a bit misleading about how Sora was training on YouTube videos or not. And just kind of.
Yeah. And reporters were hunting for that. Like, again, who was training her on that? That would have been like, it was an active area of interest at the time.
Yeah. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're the ones. Maybe the ones that should go on all these shows. I came off of, I'm working on another feature for Vanity Fair, and I just came off a fucking monster writing session where I had Claude next to me, coaching me through the process. And I am a convert. I'm shifting my allegiances away from chat. I feel like Kevin Roose right now, just sort of like, just a fucking leaf in the wind, changing my mind. But no, I do think there is incredible utility. I was really blown away by Claude Sonnet as a kind of I don't know, sort of co-pilot in my writing process. And so,
in terms of like what beats you were missing or story structure,
I would well. So here was like my crazy to me moment about it. So I'm writing this story and I'm trying to be very structured about it. Like the last one I wrote, I kind of just fucking wrote, but this one I was like, let me figure out the outline of this feature before I start going into it. And I used as a model for it a New Yorker story. And I basically outlined the New Yorker story and I was like, I'm going to try and use this for this piece. And I'm writing it out and I've written like kind of 2/3 of the piece and I put it into Claude Sonnet. And I was like, what do you think about this? This is a piece I'm writing for Vanity Fair. Like, how does it read? Is it exciting? And it's like, this feels less like a Vanity Fair piece and more like a New Yorker piece.
ta.
wow.
I was like, it is like, yeah, New Yorker, you kind of like ruminate on different, descriptions and stuff like that. But Vanity Fair needs to be punchy and fast paced. So you might want to rethink your structure a bit. And I was like,
That's
God damn.
insane.
Spot on.
Wow.
You nailed it.
I'm converted off
Right,
of your
right.
conversion, Tom. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And magazines do, I mean, good magazines have that sort of house style, which, I bristle at as like a Substacker where it's like, I'm going to write naturalistically or whatever. But yeah, that's key to magazine writing.
Yeah, and different kinds of magazines, and also it pushes back on you. Like I will put in a section, and I'll be like, "Is this any good?" And it'll be like, "Yeah, it doesn't really work for me, dog." like
Maybe it's just
I don't
learned you. Like it's like, this Tom guy is negative.
Yeah, I think it just wants me to like be. I don't want my ass to be kissed by an
Right.
AI. I want to be told that like you're worthless, and this writing didn't add up at all. No, it pushed back its smart ways to me. It told me that like my logic was off in certain things, and highlight other things that I put in part of my transcripts. Which maybe I don't know.
My problem
if I
is
should have done.
ChatGPT just knows so much about me now that like whenever I go to the other ones, it doesn't have as much context. And so I do think there's some
Maybe that's the moat.
flywheel. Yeah. Moat. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think there's some moat, there.
Yeah. But, maybe to finish this one off, like with OpenAI and Sam, like I think they're really wrestling with that right now. How much do they want to tweak ChatGPT to be less sycophantic, even though it got them to this point? And, how, do you lose a certain contingent of users who like these things because there's maybe a better model to be built or a healthier model to be built? Because, we don't rely on these same kind of engagement tweaks and hacks. And for me, it's like the difference between using a sycophantic model and one that's less so is enormous. And I preferred it a lot. And what's his name at the Cerebral Valley Summit kind of made that point. Krieger.
Oh, Mike Krieger, Chief Product Officer at Anthropic.
Yeah.
Made
And so
what point?
just that sycophancy is something that you're seeing more and more users pushing back on, and they actually want things to, be more real and critical at times of what you're putting into it. It told me to go to sleep last night.
Really?
randomly. How did it know the time? Or did you say I'm tired? Or
It knows the time. I think it has a better sense of it. Like when you go to Claude, it'll say like, good evening, Tom, or good morning. And yeah, at a certain point it was like, you've had a great session today. Why don't you pack it in and like, we'll start again tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I love you.
Fascinating.
When your chatbot tells you to log off the chatbot, levels of lack of sycophancy.
All right, I'm gonna spend more time on Claude. This is
That's convertible. I'll take
not
it.
sponsored by Claude. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. If you want to be Steve Jobs, you got to do better than this. Like he's made
up.
big strides. He's made big strides, but in some ways, yeah, I think it's an uncanny valley situation where he's made himself too human, so he's not getting the sympathy of nerddom, but he's not at Steve Jobs level, and you can't make up stories that don't make any sense. And tell us that we need a technology that didn't exist a couple years ago for a fundamental human act that people have been doing pre-fire. So that's a weird one.
Best thing I can say is like, one, great hair. I thought your hair was like on point, Sam. And also it went better than the Tucker Carlson interview.
So you had complaints from one programmer who said you guys were basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up murdered. What was that?
Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, he's really putting himself out there. Kudos. He's taking risks, big swings.
Yes. Yeah. No one accused him of murder in this one. So it's a big thumbs up from the OpenAI comms team. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Listen in for new episodes every week wherever you get your podcasts.